Welcome to the Schulich VIP. We're back again and we're excited to have you here with us tonight. We have one of our most favorite guests with us. It's EVA LAU from Two Small Fish Ventures. And we're going to have an exciting evening where we talk through a number of different things with her. It's going to be very interactive. So in the chat, those of you who are on video, we were looking for your questions and your feedback. Eva's going to be shouting out and asking for feedback and input and ideas from the audience. So be prepared to be connected and jump on in. It's going to be a fun night.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. We will pass over now to Dimash, and he will sort of lead a Menti as our attendees are arriving. So over to you, Dimash.
Thank you so much, Vito, Chris. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to this amazing event with incredible EVA. My name is Dimash, and I have prepared a small virtual engagement for you. Obviously, most of you have a long list of questions, I'm sure, and you want to hear a lot of topics that EVA can cover. So for this purpose, we have prepared this Menti activation. So please take your mobile devices, smartphones, wherever you get, and proceed through this link, which you can see on the top of the screen, menti.com, and use this code to answer this question. What would you like to learn today? What kind of topics would you like to be covered? What kind of issues are bothering you? So please let us know in which direction we should go today.
Awesome.
Okay, I see some answers.
I just see the image right now, Dimash.
Yeah. I just hold it for a bit.
Okay, to build
and
it
wait
up.
for some answers, then I will flip it. Okay, the answers are coming up.
All right, I've got mine in, so
okay,
I'm ready. I know what I want to hear about.
All right.
Wow, okay, asset.
Yeah, the assets.
Okay, asset, all right, okay.
Right, when to meet a VC, the Wattpad story, learning to build a venture. I like this one in particular. I think that's because it's mine. How EVA makes decisions.
Toss a coin.
Valuations, how to raise VC funding.
Women
how to stand out.
I actually really like this, what we call the word cloud. It's really, really cool. Looks like asset is in the center and hasn't moved an inch. Valuation just kind of butt right in now.
Awesome. Okay, I think we got a good sense of that. Dimash, that was cool. That was a good way to start the session. Thanks for that.
Awesome.
Thanks for bringing that to the table.
Correction, folks. Now we have the sense of what you are expecting, and from now on, I'm passing it to my colleagues to kick off the event further. Thank you.
Awesome. Great. Okay, so tonight let's talk a little bit about what we're going to go through. We're going to have our VIP format. We're going to hear from EVA. As we said, we're going to be very engaged, lots of questions. I'm going to take you through the safe statement, which we'll get to in a minute, some sponsor shout outs. Then we'll get into the audience questions after the presentation and conclusion. And we have a special treat coming afterwards, an after party with an exciting new platform that we're testing out because we like to be innovative and try new things. The team's really excited to show everyone after the event. Vito, what should we be looking to in terms of support during the session?
Awesome. So if you're a panelist and you're promoted on video, you won't have access to submit your questions in the Q&A feature at the bottom toolbar. So you can submit your questions in the chat to Mirella or Chris, and we will consolidate them come time for questioning. For those that are in the audience, you can use that Q&A feature. So please feel free to submit your questions in there and introduce yourself in the chat. Where are you calling from? What year are you in? When did you graduate? We want to hear from you. So thanks, Chris, and back to you.
Super. Thanks, Vito. And continuing right along, want to give a shout out to our VIP sponsors, Zeifmans, the team from Zeifmans, fantastic accounting firm, working, diligently with the Schulich startup community, inspired in terms of how they bring their network to the table. their ideas, their creativity, and they're working with so many of our companies now. And we're so happy to have them with us. Thank you again to the team at Zeifmans for helping us out. And if you have any needs, accounting needs or strategic needs related to doing your financial planning for your business, they're the group to go to, and check them out later tonight. Moving right along, Vito, we're going to jump right into a couple things related to engagement outside the platform here tonight. We really hope that everyone who hasn't already will sign up and follow us on LinkedIn at Schulich Startups, and also on Instagram as well too. That's where you'll get all the latest announcements about our events and activities and some exciting things. Tomorrow we have a big announcement related to a brand new partnership with Startup India and the Government of India. Huge news coming out. So if you're not already signed up, get on over there and get ready for what's coming out tomorrow. Okay, I think it's time for our key statement here. Now, we like to remind everyone, it's really important to us that we have a community and experience for everyone online that respects all of our backgrounds and perspectives and life experiences and who we are as people. So just be mindful in terms of being in the chat tonight and being, when you're asking questions or any kind of brainstorm or the networking afterwards, be mindful of your words and how you approach people in the conversation. And we hope we don't have to jump in, but if we do, we will. And it'll be an educational moment for all of us that we'll try to make really positive for everyone. Vito, moving right along. Okay, now, I love introducing Eva, but I've already done it a few times before. So we decided to mix things up, and we have a special guest introducer tonight, and that is my friend Tarun. And Tarun, haha, see, we have it yet.
Oh my gosh.
Now, Eva, do you remember that old television show, This Is Your Life, right? And they would bring out like someone like, you know, a secret person to talk about your life or that kind of thing. So we thought we'd have the This Is Your Life, and we brought it to Tarun. Tarun has been working with Eva in Entrepreneurship 6960. Entrepreneurship 6960, the venture wing of that was conceived of by Eva when we were talking about doing it for the founders last year. And Tarun got to be the very first student at Schulich ever placed with Two Small Fish. And he's going to introduce you tonight and maybe talk a little bit about what it's been like working with you along the way. Tarun?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Hello, everyone.
Well kept secret, Tarun, you know, you didn't tell me anything about this.
No worries, Ivan, no secret. I'll be not spilling any secrets over here. But yes, hello, everyone. I hope you all are having a really good evening. And thank you, Chris, for having me and giving me this opportunity to introduce Eva. First of all, I would just like to thank Chris for even making this possible by conceptualizing and perfectly executing one of the best courses at Schulich, Entrepreneurship 6960. Well, scratch one of the best. It was indeed the best course at Schulich. And I'm sure everyone in the cohort would definitely agree. Chris even won the second best professor award at Schulich, and I'm sure the next time it has to be the best professor award at Schulich. Well, because of that course, I got this opportunity of working with Eva, and I have to admit that it has been one of the best experiences of my life, and Eva is definitely my favorite mentor. So let me just shed a bit of light on Eva's background, right? And Eva was born in Hong Kong, and she came to Canada when she was in her teens, and after that, she worked in various tech companies at various operational roles. But after that, she was the director of product development at BySparks Lab. It's a Toronto-based accelerator. And but one of the best things that Eva did was Eva helped build Wattpad, and she was head of content and community, head of community and content at Wattpad, and she helped raise the user base from just 0 to 80 million monthly active users. Imagine, it's definitely the biggest community-based platform out of Canada. Eva worked in Wattpad for 4 years, and after that, she left Wattpad and became an angel investor. She has invested in over 30 companies as angel investor, and last year, she was able to raise her own fund focusing on tech companies having network effects incorporated in their business model. Everything I have learned about venture capital is because of Eva. I got this opportunity since the start of this year, and I'm continuing working with Eva. And I think we have met over 200 founders. I've had meetings with over 200 founders, and I was in the front seat of picking Eva's brain and really understanding the asset framework and how it can unlock the network effects within company's business model. I think even today, you know what? Founders, we had a meeting with a founder, and the founder was like, you know what, can we just record this conversation? Because right, Eva, it was like, you know, Eva, you have this amazing ability of storytelling, and can I just record this entire conversation, because this is what I want to use when I'm raising my investments. And that was absolutely amazing. It was like, are you sure you want to record it? You can just listen to me, right? But yes, no, I want to record every single word that you say. And that happens with just almost every meeting that we are in. Like, in every single meeting, Eva is able to, just with 1 hour, Eva is really able to help founders in various metrics, and especially with respect to network effects. And what I really love about Eva is that she's not looking for a company that is just aiming to become a $50 billion or $100 million exit. She wants to use her network effects and the asset framework that she has conceptualized and really grow that company from 50 to $50 million to become a unicorn. And I think Eva, there's no better person than Eva, because Eva really has a amazing understanding about how to really create that network effect and create that engagement, which becomes very difficult for the users to move out to any other platform and create that defensibility and stickiness. And with this, I know that MBA is really tough for all the students. Must have spent like 100 hours to get that coveted degree. But I think with just 1 hour of session with Eva, you are all certified to receive another MBA degree for sure. Yes, and yes, that's it from me. And now I'm sure you're going to really find this session insightful, and I would love to pass on the mic to you.
Thank you, thank you so much, Tarun. You kept this from me, and I didn't pay you to say all these kind of stuff. So it's I want to thank you so much. And also I also want to thank Chris and Schulich for conceptualizing this program. Let me tell you, Tarun is someone that I lean on literally, when it comes to due diligence. He's the one who did all the quantitative and all the reasoning and telling me why yes and why no. And I to have such a partner working with me, it's a privilege. And allowing me to literally see him grow, from knowing very little about venture capital to right now being my person to say, Tarun, you go to the data room and do whatever you need, and then let's talk. To that point, I think the MBA program has well prepped him. Obviously, he's a great guy, so whoever is single, look out for him. But he's really, really good, and I think it's really my privilege to be part of this community and be able to give back, and at the same time take some goodies from you guys too.
Amazing. Tarun, thank you for the intro. And Eva, we'll turn it over to you. Just want to say, as we head into the main presentation section now, it's really amazing in the chat. So there are people like, I thought it was cool that we just had people joining us from Quebec and from Montreal tonight, but we have Bangladesh and we have India and we have Vietnam, and we have people from around the world that are taking their programs, that are alumni that are tuning in. So everyone's excited to see your talk, and with that, we'll turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you so much for having me again. And last year, I think it was last year, I've been to Schulich twice. One is as a keynote speaker for one of your pitch event, and it was certainly fun. And then the other time, because during the pitch event, there are a lot of people asking me questions. How do you evaluate company? How do you build companies, and da, 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 da. And I'm like, you know what? I got to come back and spend more time to kind of share my hands-on experience, and most importantly, the asset framework, and hopefully going to be inspirational from an startup perspective, or getting your idea off the ground perspective, and be helpful to the community. So that session was the most fun for me, being a speaker, I gotta say, because it was interactive. Every time I say something, I ask people questions. People do actually speak, do actually raise hands. So I would love to see, we have a few moderators here, that people do raise hands. If you want me to clarify things, raise your hand, type in your question. There are moderators behind, and they will be, stopping me, or perhaps even calling you out and say, look, Eva, we have a question. And I'm like, okay, please, speak. And so please be as interactive as possible. So let me just kind of, before I do the presentation, I answer a couple of questions, because, what I'm going to answer right now is not covered in the presentation. So I saw people ask me the Wattpad story, very quick. Back then, my husband, one day came home and say, I'm gonna quit this job, being the sole, breadwinner in the family. I want to start this company with my, other friend Ivan, and we're gonna make people read on the phone. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? The phones are so small. Why would people want to read on it? And then he, work with Ivan, show me the product and send it to me. And I'm like, what the heck? Why would people want to read on this? And obviously I was right, because he struggled for a few years and had very little traffic of Wattpad, because back then in 2006, Wi-Fi was, connecting to Starbucks or McDonald's is kind of like, oh my gosh, people are gonna, hack into my machine, type, that kind of mentality. Wi-Fi data access certainly was very expensive, and the screen was just, flip phones, feature phones. They were not the most intuitive form factors for people to read on. Until iPhone 3 came out, then that's when the traffic started to pick up. And then I was being proven wrong, because people actually look for content to consume on the newly shiny, iPhone that they have just bought. Came Android, then BlackBerry wants to have those big screen as well. And then all of a sudden, even those feature phones all of a sudden have a big screen. So the traffic just took off, and that's when I joined them in late 2009 as the head of community of content. And because, as Tarun said, I am an engineer by training. I work at many tech companies before. So while being the the head of community and content, managing the users, managing the community, I paid very, very keen attention to what the users are actually doing on our platform, and why are they doing it this way and why not the other way? How do they discover content? So I basically learned by having my ears on the ground, understanding what those people are doing, and then work with Ivan, the CTO, to codify all these behavior, to basically create algorithms to make sure that they continue to engage the way that we want them to, and then leverage that engagement to build the largest data network for stories. So not only do we have the largest community of storytellers, we end up having over 500 million of stories being shared on our platform. Every month, we have 500 million of new chapters being shared. We have, as Tarun has said, 80 million. Well, the latest number is 90 million monthly users on our platform. And we are even using machine learning to turning those content into, the up and rising cream of the crop type content into TV shows, movies, and books. So we have a few New York Times bestseller born from within our community. We have movies right now on iTunes, on Netflix. We have Hulu shows. We have TV shows, around the world, and we have many movies right now lined up in production with in many different countries. So you can see that the scale of how network effect not only transform the user community that are engaging on the platform, it literally allows you to create a data network that actually bring even more transformation to a specific industry that you play in. And so that's the type of companies that I love engaging with and work with, obviously invest in, because they are probably going to be winners in their domain. Quick point about valuation. People ask me, how do I evaluate my company? You have to remember, valuation is an art. So there are people who say, oh, I have built this company, it's comparable to Airbnb. I remember Airbnb, in the first 6 months, they raised this round with this kind of numbers, and I think I'm doing better, so I can do better, and I'm going to be raising, a high valuation. Well, hold on a second. If your product is still the same as Airbnb, you actually don't have any more valuation anymore, because you're actually never going to win them, right? So these kind of comparables sometimes make sense, sometimes it doesn't. And to me, what's most important is actually look at who is your dream investor that you want them to be in now, and and who will be your next dream investor you want them to be in next. That's how it works, because every single VC actually have fund mechanism. So you can ask, Tarun, that's what he does, all the time is, churn the numbers and tell me, if I put in $500,000, will I get the expected return and with the probability of how we size the market, and revenue growth and so on and so forth. And I actually have those models because I want to take a certain percentage of the company. But my check size is limited. Like, it's not like, oh, I want 10% of your company. So, if your company is $100 million, I'm like, okay, I'm going to give you, $10 million. Well, that would just basically suck up the bulk of my fund, right? So what that means is every single VC, they have a check size ranging from, a certain, range, and they have a percentage target of ownership. So you have to work back those numbers. And most importantly, you also have to realize that no VCs, maybe some, wants to just go in solo. Unless you're such a hot deal that people said, you know what, I want to push out everyone and I want to own everything. Otherwise, chances of you actually having a major lead, investor taking the bulk of the round, and then you have people to fill out the round. So then you have to put that into, calculation. Back then, I remember when I was at Schulich doing my MBA, there was actually a venture capital course. I don't know if it's still available right now in the MBA program, but it teaches you how to do pre-money and post-money and, ownership and stuff like that. Work those numbers, target dilution and all those kind of stuff. It's just math. And you will then be able to kind of figure out if this is something that, okay, it's still a great course. Yes, I know. The one who taught me back then was actually a VC. So I've learned a ton from that course as well. So what I'm trying to say is, it's just math. It's just numbers. And you just have to kind of like be able to digest that. People sometimes, they just have to swallow the pride. Now, one thing very important, valuation, I encourage founders, don't be too sensitive. Don't nickel and dime it. If someone throw you a term sheet, at 5 million, and someone throw you a term sheet at 10 million, taking the 10 million term sheet sometimes may not necessarily be the best thing, because that person could be, a very rich guy who had no clue about, what you actually are doing, but just love it. And he has a lot of money that he can spend. He say, I don't care, 10 million valuation, I give you $1 million. But what the risk is, first of all, that person may not necessarily be very savvy and being able to help you with the business. That's one thing. But most importantly is, if your company actually only worth 3 million, you're already racing ahead in terms of valuation. Imagine what kind of milestones you actually have to hit in order to surpass the 10 million valuation for your next round. Then chances of you actually having a down round, it's going to be high. And if that's the case, it's actually a very, very bad signal so early on that you have to, come in the down round. So I would suggest that maybe, having a safe note, convertible note with a valuation cap, I think probably will be the easiest if you're just starting with the company. I see a lot of comments. I don't know if I should be taking. I would assume it's not, then I would just keep going. Okay, so let's just share my screen and we're gonna dive right into the asset model. The asset model, last time, it was a workshop. And it was, as I said, very fun. And it's because a lot of people ask questions. So I expect questions. So please ask. Okay. So I'm going to skip through these slides, and go right into the, the model. So I have created this model called ASSET, ASSET. It's basically a 5-step approach. ASSET actually is an acronym. It's a 5-step approach that helps founders to figure it out. What is the network effect? Where is the network effect actually in the product? And how do they actually kickstart it and grow it from there? So that's what the whole idea is all about with the asset model. So what is network effects? First of all, network effects means that the value of the product increases exponentially as more usage of the product happens. So very simple things, you can think about more people come on Facebook, the more valuable Facebook is. The more people come on to Uber, the more valuable Uber is. the more people go search on Google, the more valuable Google actually is, because all the data, all the network effect allows them to increase its value exponentially. So we usually see networks effects in marketplaces, social networks, AI, it's a lot of people didn't understand that. They said, oh, I have the best model. Well, model aside, you need data. So data network, it's what powers AI. So AI actually is basically by definition, if you have AI, you will probably be running on a data network. Blockchain certainly is a network effect. If you are the only node on the blockchain, then what are you going to, who are you? You're nobody, right? So blockchain by definition, it's also a network effect based product. So why is it important? As I keep saying, not only does the value of the product continue to increase exponentially as more people use it or as more usage of the product happens, usually it has a winner take all type phenomenon. So you can look at Facebook. Why are you still on it even though you hate it so much? Well, because everyone's on it. Twitter. Well, why are you still on it? Well, because that's where you get all the shouting and screaming, in US politics, right? That's where it happens. But now that there's a Parler, so I don't know what's going to happen when there's another social network. Maybe there will be another network over there. I don't know. We'll see how that pans out. But you can understand how network effects basically create this mode that even though there's another alternative, unless there is a strong network going on in another alternative, otherwise the incentives for you to move from one network to another, it's extremely low. So that's what network effect is so important in companies. Now, let me actually go into presentation mode. I think that this will be better. So asset is an acronym. A stands for atomic unit. The first S stands for seed, the supply side, comes scale, the demand side, and then comes enlarge network effect coefficient. And lastly is track proprietary data set. So I'm going to actually go through all these ones one by one. And I'm going to be using a lot of examples, but at the same time, I want you guys to ask questions. And when I ask question, I actually do want people to answer me. So maybe the moderator answer me, or, if someone in the crowd wants to answer, by typing your answer in chat, I would expect, because I cannot see the chat right now, but I'm hoping the moderator will shout out the answer for me. Okay. So let's just kind of be very interactive with this session. So the way that I define atomic unit is the smallest product unit which your users gather around. So think about right now Wattpad, as I keep saying, that Wattpad is a platform that allows people to share stories on the platform. So the way that I define it is in Wattpad, the atomic unit is a story because people congregate around a story. So now then let me ask you, what do you think is the atomic unit on YouTube? Anybody wants to give it a shot? No one? Please. What's the atomic unit on YouTube?
Eva, we have Abhishek Pandey, who is going to throw out video.
Yes, thank you. So what is the atomic unit on Instagram?
And they're coming in the chat now. Posts, image, photos, pictures.
Yes.
Photos and stories.
Yeah, well, story is another thing. I'll get back to the story part later on, but yes, it's a post. The post initially is a picture, and then later on now, a post, can be a lot of things. But right off from the get-go, on Instagram, the atomic unit was a picture. So now let me ask you this question: who defines the atomic unit? Anybody want to give it a shot? Who defines the atomic unit?
Vito, why don't we, for some of these, why don't we bring someone up from video to like make their comment. So let's bring Kelly up. She had an answer for this one.
I was guessing the consumer.
You think the consumer makes the decision what the atomic unit is? Okay. Anybody else want to give it a shot?
How about Anika? Is Anika on video? Anika says founder.
Founder. Okay. So let's see. Okay. So here's an example. I have two entrepreneurs bickering. It was Dimash and Vito. They were like, oh my Lord, you know, I have such good quality and I can never find a job. And, you know, that's what Dimash is saying. And then Vito said, no, what do you mean? I work with all these companies in a community. They have all these great jobs and no one actually can, you know, seek them out, even though they are startups, but people don't know about them. So they were bickering and bickering and they say, Eva, what's the atomic unit? I'm like, I don't know. Let's see what you want to try. And then Vito said, you know, I know the company so well. I think the atomic unit should be a job posting. I'm going to put the best job posting, you know, on an app so that people can come and just kind of like comment on the job and apply for the job. So I think my atomic unit is going to be a job posting. And Dimash said, no, I have such a good quality. Look at me, you know, I'm handsome. I have all these experience. I'm actually going to create an app with the atomic unit being my resume. I'm going to tell people where I've worked, how I look, and, you know, how smart I am, and, you know, all my GPAs and all those stuff. I'm going to do that. So now tell me, what do you think Vito end up creating within job posting as the atomic unit? Anybody?
Let's see here. Well, we've got LinkedIn. We've got a job search website. Michelle Hughes is going with job search website. I guess that would be like a monster.
That's right. Because at the end of the day, people come in, they interact. It's a job posting. So end up what Vito will be creating is a job posting site like Monster. But with Dimash, you know, using resume as the atomic unit, when people come onto his app, he will see people's resume, work history. Where do they work? What did Dimash end up creating? It's LinkedIn. So as you can see this example, there's no right or wrong way to create the atomic unit or define the atomic unit. It's really, really up to the founders to define what kind of company he wants or she wants or they want to build. Because once you define the atomic unit, now that you have the framework, you can then think ahead, because the next step is to seed the supply. So let's see what's the next slide say. I don't think it's this one yet. So, you know, this is a good one. We didn't have to go through this now.
Hey, Eva, just wanted to jump in there. So Kelly had a question. Kelly,
Yeah.
you want to ask on video?
Oh, okay, sure. So I said that I thought it was the users that would define what the atomic unit is. My question is, what if the owners build for one use case, but then the audience ends up using it for a different use case? And what comes to mind for me is I can't remember the name, Groupon, something like Groupon, where it started as one thing, but the users kind of rallied around a different use case.
Yes, I am so glad you asked this question, because, you know, the founders may actually define one thing, but then the users end up using it differently. Then the founder has to have the ability to sig and sag and really, you know, adapt to the user who is really driving the usage of the product. Now, I'm actually glad that you asked this question, because with this slide that it's up here, it's not going to go wasted. So let's just kind of go through this exercise together, because this is very, very important. It ties to exactly what why Kelly's question here. People who use MySpace, SoundCloud, and Spotify, or have experience with all of them, tell me, what do you think MySpace atomic unit actually is? Quick. We don't have the whole evening here. Anybody want to give it a shot?
posts or users? Posts probably.
Posts? Who actually used MySpace?
I was
What
very
do-
young in that day.
Okay, so tell, for those people who use MySpace, what do you congregate around? When you go to MySpace, what do you look for? What do you see?
I was looking for music
You-
discovery.
Yeah, but then what are you looking at? You're looking at a profile, aren't you?
MySpace
Yeah.
profile.
Right? You're looking at a profile. I am the pink punk, country girl. So you come onto my pink page with all the cowboy boots and punky hair, and then I have all my links to my songs. That's what you see, right? So the atomic unit on MySpace is a user profile. Now, what is the atomic unit on SoundCloud? Anybody?
And musicians?
Musicians, okay. So when you go to SoundCloud, what do you see?
Songs.
Songs. That's the atomic unit. You go look for songs. And you can even look at the engagement that they create in SoundCloud. It's interesting that you can what? You can clap or you can like in the middle of a song. The drums are so cool. And then you can kind of like it right there, right? That's what SoundCloud is all about. The atomic unit is a song, and they gear towards the engagement around a specific song. And then Spotify. What do you think the atomic unit is for Spotify? Anybody want to give it a shot?
Streams?
Streams?
Playlist.
What are they streaming? Playlist.
Music.
Songs.
A playlist, right?
Mhm.
Even if you go and choose their mood boards, you say I'm chilling or I am sad, it's basically a playlist of songs, right? So now tell me, all these three platforms are in some ways, MySpace didn't start that way, but it ends up being a music discovery place. But why it didn't work? Why no one go to MySpace to look for songs right now? It's because people, the intrinsic need of the consumer is not to look at my pink, punky, country looking profile. Looking at that profile doesn't convey anything if they like my songs or not. So the design or the definition of the atomic unit for MySpace was all wrong when it comes to consumer consumption. Now, if we look at SoundCloud, you can say SoundCloud is certainly big, but why not you go listen to songs on SoundCloud as often as you go on Spotify? How often do you actually go listen to a song and go, whoa, the drums here is so good? Unless you're a musician yourself, I actually have never listened to any songs and like, oh my gosh, look at the vocal, listen to the vocal and you just like the vocal. I mean, you hum along, you sing along, you sway along. That's what mainstream people do. So what SoundCloud end up is attracting those people that are very, very into music to a point that they want to kind of like critique a song, as opposed to people who actually just want to mindlessly listen to music. And that's exactly what Spotify has hit on, is to create that atomic unit that really address the intrinsic need of the consumer. So I hope this example actually answered the question of what Kelly was asking in the beginning. What if the user actually using it this way? Well, then that's exactly what it is. Like, think about it. SoundCloud actually had an opportunity to add playlist as a feature. This is what happened with Facebook. Who remember the early days of Facebook, 2007? What do you do on Facebook? I want someone back in the days tell me the experience of how they were doing or engaging on Facebook. Someone, please.
Well, I'm old, so I'll say that.
Please, Michelle.
Sharing pictures, finding friends that I haven't seen in a long time, and just really catching up. So that's
And what do you do on people's what do you do on Facebook? physically,
You post pictures, share pictures, share funny stories.
Well, actually, I think, you may be a little bit later in the stage, because
Writing on walls.
You
yeah,
post on
thank
walls.
you. I heard the word walls.
Yeah.
Oh,
Whoever
that's
said
sorry. That's
walls,
what I
Right,
meant.
writing
On the walls. Yeah.
what the heck? So when you actually do, whose wall do you go to?
Your friends.
A friend.
So what is the atomic unit back then?
Friends.
It's the person's profile,
Profiles.
right? You just happen to have a wall that you can post things, that it's mindless on it. I don't remember how many people send me, virtual flowers on my profile. I'm like, what the heck? I don't even know you, right? So you can see that back then, Facebook, the atomic unit was still a profile, and they just happened to add a feature called a wall that allows people to post things on it. But remember, the whole rebellion, or I hate Facebook, I think in the middle of 2010, when Facebook introduced the idea of a feed. You remember those days? Because people now, Facebook then allow people to post things on their own wall, and then all of a sudden allows people to see what they are sharing, and that's a feed. So all of a sudden, what are people engaging right now on Facebook? They are engaging with what?
Right. They're engaging with the feed more than the profiles.
That's right. And what is the feed made of? Post.
Posts.
Yeah. Activities. Yeah. A lot of activities.
Post. It's just anything. I can post a news link. I can post, my pictures, or I can even reshare my memories now. So what is the atomic unit on Facebook right now? It's a post. So that's how they kind of knowing that people's going on the wall, but people don't necessarily like it. And they find out what, if we do a feed, all of a sudden the behavior changes and it will increase the engagement. Because then I don't actually have to post anymore. I don't have to supply the post anymore. I can be 100% consumer on Facebook. How many of you actually never post, but you have been stalking your friends every day? I bet you there must be a ton. Right? How many times you've gone onto your ex, boyfriend or girlfriend's profile and never, post anything, but you've been stalking them. Right?
I'm gonna plead the fifth on that one, Eva.
But you know what I mean? So it's all about, people engaging around posts. So there is a possibility to switch the atomic unit, but that has to be done elegantly. And in some ways, you may actually have to sacrifice some of your users. But if it is done correctly, meaning that it will actually increase more usage, then it's all the right thing to do. Now, we've talked about enough atomic unit. So the first thing that, once you define the atomic unit, like stories on Wattpad, we want stories on Wattpad. Back in the days in Wattpad, we actually have a lot of posting, but then they were not stories. In the early days, we're talking about 2006, 2007, I see a lot of people post jokes on Wattpad. I'm like, I don't even understand why you want to put jokes in here, but okay, fine. Remember, the backbone of Wattpad was to being able to post something on the web and you can read it on your phone. That's the technology behind it. Nothing has changed, but the usage has changed. So now I'll tell you some secrets. Do you know what I've seen on Wattpad during the early days? I have seen chapters of accounting principles. So all you MBA students want to cheat on exams, that's what you did. I have seen people, I actually have seen a nurse manual, a nurse handbook, how to take care of a patient being shared on Wattpad. Why? Because the nurse needs to read it on her phone. So the usage of the technology was not what we want, because the atomic unit was not well defined. And even if we defined it, we want stories, we have to kickstart the whole chicken and egg problem. Someone has to supply first. So when you actually have a network effect-based product, always, always, always start with the supply. So what we did, we imported over 20,000 books from the public domains onto the platform. So these are the ones that we imported through the Gutenberg project, through our partnership with Gutenberg. So then all of a sudden, we define ourselves of read a story, read a book. Then people eventually stop posting all these accounting principle, nursing manuals, marketing strategy, onto Wattpad, but start posting stories. So that's how we seed the supply to define who we are and attract like-minded people to supply the atomic units to get started. So now once you actually have the supply going, what do you need to do? You need to switch over to scale the demand. So imagine, just imagine for a second, if YouTube initially allows people to put videos on the platform, and then all these people who put videos, what I call creators on the platform, they said, oh, I wish that, you have more tools for me to change the color of my videos. Oh, I wish you have more tools so that I can add an interesting frame around my video. If YouTube pay all the attention to the creators, what will YouTube end up becoming? Anybody want to take a shot? If YouTube back in the days focused on the creators, making sure the creators are happy, adding all the features that the creators want, what would have YouTube become? Anybody?
Maybe TikTok?
TikTok? Well, I wish they were that advanced back then, but that's maybe yes, maybe no. I would say not that advanced yet. But think a little bit more. If YouTube focused on nothing else but to entertain all the creators.
People are saying Vimeo, iMovie, a video editor platform.
Thank you. That's exactly what it is. You would then be focusing on so much resources to make those creators happy by crafting their art, which is important. But you have to ask the most important question. If these creators have no audience, will they continue to spend an hour every day or a few hours every day to create content? The answer probably is no. So that's why you have to scale the demand once you get the supply going. Rather than continuously listening to all the creators, you have to focus on getting the actual demand of these creation so that there's a balance of the ecosystem. Usually, think about it this way. You guys are all MBA students. You know how supply and demand, how it works. If you open supply, what happened? Your price drops, and then all of a sudden the supply will be like, I have all these stuff, what am I going to do? Then the suppliers won't be happy, right? So usually for supply and demand to be in an equilibrium, they tend to have a little bit of a scarcity of supply so that people will be kind of like bidding on it, wanting it more because they have this whole FOMO, or they are not satisfied, they just need more. So that's what you need to create in an ecosystem. Usually, typically, it's a 20-80 rule. You have about 20% are creators, 80% are actually I don't want to use the word consumer because it's not necessarily consumer, but I'm using this word. It's like 80% are demand. So what happened was, at the time, Wattpad knew that people want to read stories, and people create stories. They want to connect with readers. So we had used our skills to basically create Wattpad and allow consumption on these content on all mobile phones. So both Ivan and Alan back then, they were mobile computing experts. Their company, Alan created another company before Wattpad, and it was literally a technology company on mobile phones. So he knew that inside out, and Wattpad was on all those feature phones back then, even though when the phone was very small. And then they quickly make the application available on Apple, BlackBerry, and an Android, and even on Windows Phone. So at one point in time, I would say even right now, Wattpad was available on every single mobile platform. And that's how we kind of scale up the demand, because we capture the opportunity that people want to have content on their phone, but at the same time, the whole ease of use, being able to kind of access to story, unlike going to a library, actually getting a physical box, we get that going, and that's how we scale the demand. So acquiring the readers at the time was become the number one priority.
Eva, I'm gonna jump in with a question that's come up a couple times in the chat, and that is, can you ever have a secondary atomic unit or a tertiary atomic unit? Are there multiple atomic units, or is there only ever one?
Well, this is a question that, you know, the entrepreneur has to make a decision. I personally don't like it. I hated it. You know, the reason is because I have seen enough companies that say, let me give you a few examples. I'm not necessarily picking companies and shredding them right now, but I'm just making a generic comment. Okay. So imagine a young mother. Okay, imagine I'm a young mother. Not that, you know, I'm a young mother. I have two kids, but they are no longer toddlers. But imagine I am a young mother who have toddlers. Okay, you know, and I'm like so having difficulties with motherhood because I don't have a support system. No one actually give me advice of, and then, you know, when I have, you know, my kids have diaper rash, I don't know what to do. And I want to kind of like get them a new, I don't know, whatever, you know, electronic toys. I don't know what toys do I get. So I feel so lonely. So I'm going to create a website that allows people to give me, to share their product reviews. So they can go and say, I tried this baby monitor and this is what it is like. And then at the same time, I actually want a feature on my platform so that moms can just connect and make friends. So that's a forum. You know, then people go in and say, I'm bored. You know, who wants to chat right now? And then I'm actually going to bring brands in, you know, so that they can market to this community. Think about it for a second. What you end up creating? It's a 1990 or early 2000 website. It's not a product. Think about the one that are most successful these days is how they got started was extremely simple and slick. WhatsApp does nothing but conversation. Instagram back in the days, now that it's like a super app right now, but back in the days, how did they get started? How do they convey their value to the consumer? It's just share your picture. Think about Google. What the heck do they have? One box. That's the product design that will make you do nothing but something exceptional and get that network going. Once you have that kind of scale, then you can do whatever you want. Look at Facebook. Look at Twitter. I just updated my Twitter app. For God's sake, they put story on Twitter today. But that's what I meant. When you have enough clout, sure, add more. But nowadays, less is more. Look at Uber. When it first started, it was just purely ordering your ride, right? And now that they have Uber Eats. So Uber Eats was just kind of like another skip the dishes, another DoorDash. But I just realized that most recently they actually add a feature to do what? To do pickup. So they're fighting with rituals. And what else do? They pick up grocery. They fight for Instacart. When you have that kind of a clout, then you can add more. But at the beginning, less is simple. But at the end of the day, it's not my call, it's your call. Okay, so any more questions about the first three steps? You know, atomic unit, you defined it, you seed it, you seed the supply, and then you scale the demand. Okay? Now, come to the fourth step. Increase the network effect coefficient. It's the enlarging here. So this is how I define network effect coefficient. How do you calculate the volume of a cuboid? Anybody? How do you calculate the volume of this cube?
Length into breadth into height.
Thank you. Basically, the three sides, you times it together, right? So I define a network effect coefficient in an arbitrary terms is on one end, you have the number of users. The more number of users you have, think about it. It's a three-dimension thing. If you have only number of users, if you have only like infinite number of users, what do you end up having? It's a line. You just have a very long line, infinite line. And if they come back, so think about, think about, the type of the product that count on number of users. Only number of users. What kind of companies, it may be digital, it may not be digital, that count on only number of users. The more number of users they come, then it will just increase in value. They have no engagement and they have nothing else. I can think of one business. Funeral homes. You just have to keep on dying people, dead people come to you and they only die once. So in order to scale, you have to have more people that, being dead, or you have more locations so that you have capture more dead people, in your business. Then you only count on number of users. But obviously that's not the type of business we want to build. We want to at least have engagement. So you want to have a lot of users and they engage with you often. So what kind of business, you have a lot of users and you engage very often? Anyone want to kind of take a guess?
Facebook?
I wouldn't think so.
Or I guess TikTok more so. I mean, that's...
I don't even think that way. Think about what product, it doesn't have to be digital, that relies on a lot of users.
Cheap nail salons.
Thank you. Dry cleaners. You go back often. Nail salon, you get your nails done today, 5 days later, oh, it chipped already. Let me go back again. Right? Number of users, number of engagement. Now, the other ones that you've talked about, Facebook and TikTok and all these ones, they actually have another dimension. YouTube, it's the number of connections. How many TikTok creators can you connect? Infinite. How many Facebook friends you have? Well, it depends on how friendly you are, or whether you want to connect with strangers. What about Uber? You have infinite number of drivers for you to connect with. So that's the number of connections. So that's what it's, when you build a business, not only do you need to think about, I want lots of users, you have to think about, I want them come back often. But what network effect here actually means is the number of connections, the web that you're creating, it's very dense. That's what you want. Then people cannot leave. That's what network effect coefficient actually means. Okay. Moving to the last point. The fifth point is a T. It means track proprietary data set. So now let me share with you one feature that we had at Wattpad back then. It was a fun feature that I came up with because back then we're talking about 2010, 2011. The whole Twilight saga was huge. Do I have any Twilight fans in the audience here? Raise your hand if you are, or do I see a lot? Chris, I can't hear you. You're on mute.
Sorry, we've got a yes from Yutang. Says me. And wait a minute. Thanlei says me. And Anika says me.
Do I have any Team Edward here? Do I have Team Jacob?
Oh, Anika says me. Yes.
Okay. That's exactly what happened. Because when I look at that phenomenon, I actually got teenage girls at the time, text me or message me or whatever. They kind of saying like, oh, I like Edward Cullen. They actually meant Rob Pattinson. You know what I mean? They couldn't tell an actor versus the character. So I said, look, all these stories, make into movies. Harry Potter, Twilight Saga. People root behind all these celebrities, like very, very strongly. So I said, what if we actually captures the writer's imagination that if they want to turn their stories into a movie, who will play those characters? It was a big hit. You know, all of a sudden, all these writers start, making their cast, with their stories. So one day I was just kind of curious because I was Team Edward, meaning Rob Pattinson all the way. And I was kind of like deep down want to know who is more popular. So I look at the database, I clean up some data and I pull out a list and I'm like, who are the most cast celebrities on Wattpad? And I created this list. And I was just laughing my head off. I'm like, oh my gosh, Taylor was actually more popular than Rob. And it was to my very surprise. I shared that list with my, the marketing person at the time. And she found it very interesting. She tweeted about it. 24 hours later, it was on the first page on perezhiltons.com. What this story I'm trying to tell you is, for us at the time, it was just a fun thing for us to do. For me, it was just, I want to see Rob Pattinson and Taylor Lautner, which one is more popular. All these proprietary data set all of a sudden actually has value. And that was basically the moment, or the foundation, I wouldn't necessarily say the foundation, but the moment that we actually realized that Wattpad, it's not only a storytelling platform. We have all these proprietary data that a lot of other people find it extremely, extremely valuable. Pop trends, teen trends, celebrity, all those kind of stuff. And that's why right now Wattpad attract all these partners from Sony, from Universal Studios, and all these companies just say, I'm gonna give you money, just show me your top 10 story every month. That is just to have a look, not even trying to kind of turn them into anything, right? So proprietary data set, it's basically the gold mine for any network effect-based company. Look at Google, look at Facebook, look at everyone that, out there. The proprietary data set allows them to power up totally different business model. Facebook become an ad network, right? Google have all this intelligence. They know more than they know me more than I know myself, right? So all of a sudden, these opportunities arise from the proprietary data set. So
Eva, I think just an interesting moment here. Anika, I think you must have experienced that moment. You're saying in the chat, it was you who brought that to Wattpad. So you're a Wattpad user, Anika, and you remember that moment?
Yeah, I just had a fan moment there. I mean, and you expressed it so well. Thank you so much, Chris. I mean, I was like, it was you. Thank you.
That's right. It was me. So you must have used that casting feature, so diligently, huh? So
yes.
who played the blue-eyed vampire in your story?
No, I'm just a reader, not a writer, but yeah, thank you so much.
I am so glad. See, this is such a fulfilling moment to actually meet with a Wattpad fangirl here and understood exactly what I'm talking about. So great. Thank you, Anika, for, do a shout out for me. Yeah, so that's basically what it is. It's at the end of the day, these 5 steps helps entrepreneurs to focus what they need to do one step at a time. Now, you may think that, oh, this is kind of like straightforward. A lot of the times, entrepreneurs actually don't necessarily understand where they're stuck at. I've seen many companies who thought that I want to create a website or I want to create an app and do this. And then I'm going to actually create this feature for people to engage so that they can do this, they can do this. I'm like, hold on a second. You don't even have supply, let alone demand. So what do you think you're spending all this time to engage with the 10 people that you're on it, right? So it's very important that entrepreneur use this framework to basically kind of do a test. Have I actually got the atomic unit defined properly? If not, should I change? Should I not change? Why? And if you have a strong conviction of this is, what my atomic unit is, I really think this is what it should be, then think about supply. A lot of the times, so now let me use the skip the dishes example. What do you think the atomic unit is for skip the dishes? Or Uber Eats? Or DoorDash? What do you think? Anybody? What do people congregate around?
A meal or an order, maybe?
Thank you, Nikita. It's an order. You want to go browse, you don't kind of like, let me see what they have, and then you leave, right? Because you want to have an order. You want to order something. So you actually go with the idea of have an order. And why do these restaurants want to showcase themselves on it? Because they want to take an order. They want to order, from you. It's not like, just look at what we have and don't ever order from me. So order is the atomic unit. But now think about it this way. Who needs to make this order happen? Who are the stakeholders around an order?
I think it's a combination of my children jumping up and down asking for different things, and then me making the decision on who wins the argument.
Okay, that's a demand side. That's a demand side. Who else? What else needs to make this order happen?
The platform.
Well, obviously, you're not going to go directly to the store right now, especially during COVID. Who else? What else needs to make this order happen?
No, the restaurant or the people preparing the food.
So the restaurant, that's the supply side. Is that it?
Delivery person is an answer we have. Drivers.
Exactly. So it's a typical three-sided marketplace. Without one, it won't work. So how Skip the Dishes started initially, very, very early days, they started out from Winnipeg. And what they did was they need to onboard the supply of an order. So what do they need to do is they have to onboard restaurant first. So they go and talk to all these restaurants, mostly, franchises, and they say, hey, you want people to be ordered for, digitally so that you don't actually have to pick up the phone. So why don't I make a website for you and all those kind of stuff. So they did it by onboarding these restaurants by making their website first or, or mobile site first so that they can actually at least take orders. Then once they kind of do that, then the next thing, they onboard, a handful of restaurants. And then these restaurants go tell the customers, say, hey, now you can order it on, online as well. And they are the one who did the delivery in the beginning. So that's how they kind of like seed the market with the restaurant by making those restaurants available. They didn't scale the demand yet, but they at least onboard the demand to make these supplies happy. But these things are still not working unless someone is trying to deliver them. So they did it themselves. So now as they grow more and more demand, then they hire more and more people to deliver. You see, it has to go in tandem such that the demand and the supply can actually go into equilibrium. Because if they can, let's say if they have all these money to onboard, or, make marketing or advertising and onboard thousands and thousands of users in Winnipeg, but if they cannot deliver, then people are going to go away. So that's what I meant. It's like when you look at a three-sided marketplace or multi-sided marketplace, you have to make sure that you have enough stakeholders or players to make the supply work before you actually scale the demand. So, they onboard the restaurant, they then created the playbook, how to onboard more drivers. That's when they go and spend the money to acquire customer. Because we know that if we have lots of restaurants, minimum drivers, people are not going to be happy. And I have seen actually multiple startups fail because one side of the marketplace was not taken care of and they have no playbook to scale it. And usually that fails is on the supply side. Because demand, once you scale it, they're either very happy with your service or they're very upset with your service.
Eva, I'm going to jump in with another question here because it's come from 3 or 4 people and they're raring to go on this one. So I'll take the last edition of it. So it seems like the concept of the atomic unit works really well for B2C companies with user generated content. What about B2B SaaS companies?
B2B SaaS company actually is also applicable to the network effect. Usually I see B2B company in two ways that have a network effect. One is the collaboration layer. So, let's say, a workflow product, if the workflow is actually not catering to, all the stakeholders, then it's going to fall apart. Slack, you cannot be, a non, network effect based product. Slack basically is one, and it's all about conversation, and it's all about collaboration. And on Slack, you can say a channel is an atomic unit, but I would actually break it down as a conversation. Okay. Now, the other layer of B2B product, most of the time, has network effect at the data layer. So I'm just trying to kind of think of the best example so that I don't confuse people here. So I invested in a company called Tealbook. So Tealbook is the data hub, the best data source for enterprise to engage with their suppliers. So what they did is they essentially created a LinkedIn for corporations, but in a way that is slightly different. That think about Johnson & Johnson or GE. These are big corporations and they have a ton of suppliers. So Johnson & Johnson, from pharmaceutical to consumer goods, think about Johnson & Johnson baby shampoo. They have the bottles, the bottle have the caps and then have the labels. And then all the way to pharmaceutical side, they would have, ingredient for the medication they make, the packaging and the pamphlet and all those kind of things. So they have thousands and thousands of these suppliers relationship they need to manage. So that's what Tealbook does, is to onboard one of these enterprises, and then such that they can onboard all of their suppliers onto the network so that they can have the bird's eye views of who the suppliers are, and also being able to look up the suppliers that fit a specific criteria. So for any of these companies, they tend to have multiple suppliers for the same thing, because that's what contingencies are about. You don't want to have a single point of failure. Like if there's only one printing shop for their pamphlets, and if for whatever reason they go belly up, then does it mean that Johnson on a sudden can no longer ship product out because they have no pamphlets? Of course not. So they would have to have multiple suppliers for the same product or the same component. And let's say if the company say, we now want to work with company that have environmentally conscious policy. Where do they look for these information? They cannot do a Google search, right? So they rely on suppliers to actually declare and show their policy. So that's why when they onboard their suppliers, they ask the suppliers to kind of also fill out all those information, or supply as much information about, their corporate policies, and so on and so forth. So all of a sudden, this is a strong B2B marketplace, strong B2B network. Now, what's more important is then all of a sudden, the data network will become more interesting as more companies or more of these enterprises, come on board, because, you will see up and rising suppliers. All of a sudden, you figure out, oh, Johnson & Johnson and P&G, they're actually all using this particular company for print houses. And then all of a sudden you can see, how often do they engage. These kind of proprietary data set, perhaps then will be very useful for the network themselves. They will be able to kind of create insight, or saying like, look, usually company of your size, of your product, for printing a pamphlet, they on average have 5 suppliers to do that, but you only have 2. Do you want to increase your supply pipeline for your pamphlet? These are some of the ones that you can engage with. Then all of a sudden, they no longer being a communication tools between enterprises and their suppliers, but they become that data network, or that hub that powers the connections between the B2B companies. So that's a very classical, type of B2B data networks. Even though on surface it's still a marketplace, but at the bottom, the underneath, it's still the data network. It's still the insights. It's still the T that actually powers the proprietary exclusivity, nature in this network. I hope that answers your questions.
I think we're good.
Good. Someone's okay. Any more questions?
I think, yeah, there's a few questions that I see. I'm just wondering if you see them in the chat as well, you might be able to.
I have 99 messages right now, so I don't know which one is which one.
We've got a question, which is, and if you've got a question and we haven't promoted you to video, Vito will try and find you quickly. Vito, could you bring Yuting up for a quick question?
Yeah, try to figure that out.
And I have one question here that just been sent to me privately. As a VC, how involved do you get in a portfolio company to help them achieve the ideal asset model? So are you looking for, I guess maybe the genesis of this a little bit is like, are you looking for them to have figured out that when they arrive at your doorstep? Or is that something that if you see inside the company that there is this evolution or refocusing that would get them there? Both? Yeah.
I do both. One of the superstar in my company, when they first came to me at the pre-seed stage, they totally was not there. And I was the one who actually point out, what is exactly is your atomic unit? What is it? And now that I think this atomic unit, based on what you've just told me, is this. And they say, yeah, and then I'm like, okay, what about the supply? Oh yeah, we're supplying it with all the open data. I'm like, oh great, but where is the proprietary data set that makes your supply unique? Because remember, if your supply is not unique, why do people want to come to you? If you are just selling white line, lined paper, they can get it everywhere else. So it's always good to have a proprietary supply of your atomic units. So I work with them with that, a strategy to figure out what that proprietary data set should be, and then help them to raise from pre-seed to seed. And then I, work with them in some ways to, coach them. How should they scale the demand? And they scale the demand nicely. And then they said, okay, so what do we do now? I said, they did the engagement and they were really, really good. And then they were ready to raise the A round. And then they were kind of like scratching their head. They said, Eva, what do I do now? Because my other investor, I was an angel. And then they said, my lead investor was asking me to do this. And then my other, a second lead investor were asking me to do this. And they were pushing me to monetize. They said I should do this. I'm like, hold on a second. I said, hold on. Think about the proprietary data set that you have. He said, yeah, okay. And then I said, because of all the engagement, this is not a consumer product. This, I don't want to kind of give too much away. Okay, maybe I should actually tell you what this company that I'm thinking about. So BenchSci, BenchSci, it's a company that have strong, AI learnings about, on medical journals. And their whole idea is to allow scientists to search protein data on their platform. So if you want to kind of like look at, there are a lot of scientists right now racing around the clock how to try to find a vaccine or find a cure, for COVID-19. And all these scientists are actually basically looking for data so that they can set up their experiment, right? Then you cannot just inject it into a person and kind of like see what happened. They have to kind of do a lot of experiments at the more molecular level and all those kind of stuff. So they would have to go into, BenchSci to look at protein data, antibodies, antigen, all these kind of stuff. And so they gather these data basically with all the open data that's available on medical journals and stuff like that. But I said, you know, all these information about protein that you are gathered here, even though they're buried on these medical journals, but they're still open. I said, what's so special? What's the proprietariness of it? You know, that you have a proprietary supply of data. Then we worked, and I said, look, all these protein data is only made to the public because the experiment was successful. But what if the experiment failed? You still want to actually capture those characteristics of those protein, even though the experiment failed. They said, yeah. I said, where did those information go? They said, well, it goes to the black book of the scientists. I'm like, then that's stupid. Make sure they share it on the platform. Then all of a sudden, you have the richest data set around protein. Not only do you get data that's public, you actually get these scientists to contribute on your platform as well, right? So that's what I did with from the pre-seed to the seed round and help them raise the seed round. When they raised the A round, a lot of the, you know, the people around the table was basically, you know, thinking about monetization. Subscription, you know, don't let people use it until, you know, they pay. Maybe, you know, with some of the knowledge you have, maybe you can actually, you know, do all sorts of stuff. And I'm like, hold on a second. I said, if you put subscription so early on, it's only A round, you know, we're not talking about B round, C round, D round here, we're like A round. If you put subscription right now, for those scientists actually doesn't have a huge budget, then all of a sudden you just create friction for them to contribute to your data set, right? I said, why do you want to actually have people pay so early on and optimize for monetization and not optimize for the data set? Then he said, but I have a problem here, Eva, because I don't hit that, you know, magical ARR milestone. So people are telling me I cannot raise A round. I said, that's BS, because you are sitting on a gold mine here. I said, what is it? I said, you know what people are searching, right? You know what people are talking about, right? You know who is collaborating with who, right? He said, yeah, that's all in data set. I said, there you go. Wattpad knows what people read. Wattpad knows how frequent they engage. So we now know which story is the most likely to be successful. So you have all these insights about what protein, what project people are working on. Don't you think you will have a customer who wants that? He said, you're so right, Eva. There are two pharmaceutical company was actually on my back right now because they want to generate a report. And I'm like, did you charge them money? And he just giggled. Well, I mean, like, there's a totally different business model. So with that new business model at the time, you know, then they raised the Series A from Gradient Venture. And Gradient Venture was the AI investment arm of Alphabet. And investing in Benchside was actually the first Canadian investment out from Gradient. And I was the one who facilitated that. So that's what I meant by I did both, because I literally coached them from the beginning. But nowadays, you know, people understand what network effect is much better. People actually, you know, have heard about me talking, and a lot of the times they actually being introduced to me through people. And every email that I go out actually has a video to talk about the network effect. So I do actually expect people to have a better knowledge now, you know, and I mean, I have only that much time. And would I go, if I want to spend some time, all my time to teach people from the ground up versus to people that actually have more knowledge or readiness to it? I think I know what my answer is people who have more knowledge and have at least give it a shot, so that I don't have to teach it all from the very beginning. And that's why you guys have the advantage. Now that I've taught you, then you should be very prepared. That doesn't mean that I don't do companies from the very beginning. But what that means is they just have to show me far more proof point than the ones that are more prepared.
Awesome. Now I'm going to go for a question here. Yutang has been like, I think, the superstar of the chat channel in terms of asking all kinds of like great questions and comments and jumping in there. I mean, everyone's been good, but you've been on fire, man. So I'm going to give you a question to Eva, and I loved your question about roles. Would you like to come on and ask the question? Yeah, you're going to be famous now. Come on and ask the question. No more chat time. The chat was good. We want to hear your voice.
All right. Hi, Eva. thank you for generously offering us your insights and your time. I think I think just quickly, I think if we were to have paid for your time, all of us, probably would be much poorer now. But so thank you for offering us your time free of charge. So great value there.
You don't have to pay to speak to me. I actually have to pay to put money in your company. So I'm the one who actually have to give all the time.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris, for putting this together. My question is, now that you've been a product manager, an executive, a founder, and investor, what do you wish product managers knew about building a product or building a company?
Thank you.
Thanks.
This is an awesome question. This is an awesome question. I think, it's a fine balance, because what I'm actually going to be answering here, it's very controversial. Okay. I think product manager should really spend 100% of their time in the user's shoes. I have seen so many product managers, myself included, not that I was a product manager, but I took on that role, thinking about what I think people would do, and not necessarily spending enough time to really go into the whole psychology of the users. So that's why on a sudden Groupon, is exactly what Kelly said in the beginning. They want people to do that. Eventually people do all the other stuff. I have built many, features in Wattpad that I think people will use it this way, or I think people would love it. It turns out not, because I didn't spend enough time to really understand the psychology and the need of the users. Now, having said that, that doesn't mean that you have to listen to all those requests and demand and just obediently do what they said. Because if you go and ask those people riding horse carriages, what do they want? They would say, I want faster horses. I want the ability to actually have 8 horses rather than 2. Or maybe I need a feature that actually carry a bucket of carrots so that I can continue to feed my horses. And they would have never imagined there's something called a car or even a steam engine, right? So that's what I meant. Is like, you need to know exactly what they want. They may not be able to tell you what they actually need, but understanding that, then you'll be able to address the intrinsic need of what it is. Now, I'll give you one example as well, then you'll understand what I mean by that. When I was building Wattpad during the early days, I was literally the only one who engaged with the community behind the Wattpad logo. So people will write to Wattpad and say, I hate Wattpad, or I love Wattpad, There was a very adamant group of users that they have been asking for the chat features. They said, I love Wattpad. I made all these good friends on Wattpad. People understand me. I wrote this poem. People love me. I make all these great friends. Give me a chat features so that every day after school, I can come online, see who my friends are online, and I can chat with them. It makes perfect sense, right? Because it increases engagement. It gives more people connection. Why not? So I went and fight with Ivan. And I said, Ivan, we have to have it. He said, no. I'm like, yes, no, yes, no. Who won? I won. And he said, okay. I'm going to put this feature on. We just going to use some open source stuff. I'm not going to put it in the app, but let's just put it in the web and see what happened first. I said, okay, that's fine. I will be happy. I'm not going to bite you. After all, it were three people team. What am I going to complain about, right? So he put this feature on. Oh boy. I was so busy every day at 3:30. All these kids came on. Hey, Wattpad, I just get off school. What's your favorite color? And then, the others say, hey, Wattpad, are you a real person? And then all these chats come talk to me. And I'm like, what am I doing here? And not only that, it created a lot of issues around it, because they now can talk to their friends, but chat by definition is private, right? And then they are they're bullying. They were chatting, and then all of a sudden, one person turned very bad and start, bullying them. Then all of a sudden, I have a lot more moderation problem to deal with. But most importantly, the biggest regret that I had with that feature was people, all these active users that were so active before, they don't read stories anymore. They don't write stories anymore. They come and chat. It took their precious time to give me those insights, to give me that atomic unit, to make every atomic unit richer. They took those time away and spent it to chit chat with people. So I end up making that hard decision to take the chat away. I pissed off a lot of users. I did. But you know what? That was a good thing. Because I need to think more also while I listen to the users. I need to figure out if the user's behavior is contributing to the value of the atomic unit that ultimately will give me the exponential value on the platform.
Thank you. Great question. Roger, I'm going to come to you next and give Eva like a 20-second intro to your company so she has the context for the question as well too.
Yeah, sure. Hey, Eva, thank you so much for coming on board and doing this chat with us. I've learned a lot, as I'm sure a lot of people here have. So a little bit about myself. I'm an ex-Schulich BBA with a major in finance and marketing, and recently launched a new tech startup in the on-demand delivery of building supplies.
There's
yes.
there's one already in the ecosystem.
Yes, there's a few. So my background has been in building supplies. I worked at IBM as a strategy consultant, left and pursued an entrepreneurial journey, started a trim and door distribution company in Toronto. It went very well. And with that company, we were able to bootstrap our tech startup, which is called Bibo. So I founded Bibo, and we've had great success so far in penetrating the market, despite the competitors that I'm sure you're well aware of. And now we're looking to raise our A round. So my challenge or my questions to you would be—
Did you raise the seed round already?
Well, we bootstrapped the seed round. We bootstrapped it. To be honest, we're not in a financial crunch, but we're looking for a strategic partner to continue our platform.
Just hold on a second. So this is your first institutional raise?
Yes, it would be my first institutional. Yeah.
And you sure you want to raise an A round?
Well, based on the conversations I've had with some VCs and based on our current run rate, I've been told that we would be raising an A round.
I don't need to know the numbers, but I think, let me just ask you this way. Are you raising 2-3 millions, or are you raising 10, 5 to 8, 5 to 10?
Probably 5 to 10, maybe even more.
Okay. Well, then you're in a very good position then.
Thank you. Yeah, we have a strong team. We're very motivated, and we hit the ground running. We developed the tech in incognito mode for the last year and a half, and we'll launch the product officially in March. I come from the industry, so I have a lot of knowledge in the space. So we were able to leverage my knowledge and my networks to get the app in a good position right off the start. So we went from 0 to 100 in what feels like a blink of an eye. And it's been an incredible journey so far. But now the challenge that I have, and I'm sure some people in this panel might relate to, is, I'm looking for the best strategic partner to continue the journey with.
Now, let me just kind of go to the word, you said 2 times, and that bothers me. And I'll tell you why it bothers me. The word strategic. Strategic here actually could be dangerous.
Okay.
So let me tell you my story, then you understand what I mean by dangerous. Okay.
Sure.
During the early days of Wattpad, we raised a seed round, and actually before that, we were, struggling, and then we finally have some tractions, and then we kind of talked to people in our field, and or I should say in the storytelling field. They are like bookworms and all those kind of things, and everybody said to us, you should have strategic investors, you know, like Random House, you know, like, you know, Simon and Schuster, like Macmillan, or, you know, even Harlequin, you know, they definitely will love you, you know, it's a strategic investor, da, 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 da.
Yep.
We said no. Every single one of them. Even people suggested, we say no. You know why? Two problems. Maybe in your context more than my context, but my context, the biggest problem is these people, even though they give you $1 million, $2 million, to them it's nothing. What they really want from you is to make sure you make their business successful, because that's where the cash cow is.
Sure.
You're totally dispensable if things doesn't go right. So when you so early on, first institutional money, and you take a strategic, then you may run the risk of being dispensable in their eyes. And they don't really care what your valuation is, because what it means is they only care about, it's like they write you the check size and can that be dispensable.
Yeah.
What they really want is to make them successful. So now that's one problem. Now imagine, for me, for us, Wattpad, we took the money from Random House. They will never, never encourage us to make our users to publish a whole novel on our platform. Why? Because that's going to cannibalize their book business. So that's a big problem for us. That's why we didn't want to take the money. And second of all, imagine if we took money from Random House, meaning that from one strategic, what's the incentive for the other ones to work with you?
So when I say strategic, I guess the challenge that I'm having is, like, I don't want to necessarily take money from someone else in the industry, but what I mean by strategic is finding a VC or the right partner that's going to support us in the journey and is going to align with our vision. Because we've been approached by several people already who haven't necessarily been aligned with my vision or what we want to do. Some strategics and some not strategics. So what I'm having a hard time with is finding, and we're not in a rush to raise, but we're having a difficult time finding the right partner, not just finding a partner.
Now that's a good problem to have, because you're not in a rush to raise. Let me tell you, the best time to raise money, absolute best time to raise money, it's when you don't need money.
I've been told.
Right? So then what you need to do is you need to actually get, just go out and connect. And most importantly, don't be shy. A lot of people say, I don't want to talk to him, or I don't want to talk to them. It's a waste of my time. It's not strategic to me. It's not value added to me. But the more people you meet, the more people talk about you. Believe me, VCs talk behind the back 5 billion times. I have so many deals that are referred to me by other VCs. Either they say, hey, look, this is really, really cool. You want to do it together? Or people be like, Eva, this is a gem, but I invest in B round, C round. Can you take care of me for me when they're in a C round and an A round? I think you will be a good custodian for me. You want to take a look. So then that's why you need to build a network, and don't feel that you're wasting time to talk to people. Because the more people you talk to, especially entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs who have raised money before, Schulich is a great community. Talk to Chris, who are the ones, active VCs in the ecosystem. Get in front of them. You will get a lot of no's. But we always work together and say, look, it doesn't fit me, but I think you will fit them. And then you'll be able to kind of now then connect. Then it can connect. And that's what it is, the whole network effect. All you need is one yes.
No, and we don't need 10 VCs. We need one to get for the next round and take the platform from there, right? So
that's right. So I would say, the most easiest thing right now, connect with Chris. You can connect with me. Let me take a look and see how I can be helpful.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Roger. Thanks.
Or you can actually connect to Tarun. Tarun is the guy who actually do all the stuff.
Just hard work.
That's cool. Okay, Eva, now we're going to go to the part of the VIP where we crowdsource the thank you. So this is something that we've been doing. I don't think you've experienced this yet, but originally it was myself giving the thank yous, and that was cool. Except one day the community just sort of took it over and started doing the thank yous. And when it happened, I said, well, that was kind of cool. I think we should just roll with that every time.
Okay.
So we're going to start off with your number one fan from the evening. So we're going to Anika, and she's going to start the group rolling with the crowdsource thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much. So I'm nervous. I'll start with that. I was so excited when I just got to know about who you are, and I feel like really grateful that Chris invited me here, and it was a really worth experience. Listening to you was like, it taught me so much. So thanks a lot, and everything you did to Wattpad. Yep, I'm just rooting for you.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so
Anika.
much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Anika. And I'm going to, if there's people that are ready to go, just let me know in the chat, or I might call you out as well. Kelly, you're up next.
Eva, thank you so much for your chat tonight. I actually have like 4 pages of notes that I took away, so it was obviously hugely helpful. I'm starting something of my own, so a lot of what you talked about directly applied, and I'm sure a lot of us here felt that today. So thank you so much for spending an entire evening with us.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks, Kelly. Next up, we have Rhythm.
Thanks, yeah, Chris, and thanks, Eva. It's so inspiring to hear from you every time, and it's such an inspiring journey that you have had with Wattpad and the other great companies you talked about. I'm a product manager, and I always keep consider entrepreneurship and product management as parallel fields because there's so much to learn about. And I loved what you said about being in the user's shoe. So thanks for that. It's always great to hear from you, and see you next time.
Well, let me say one thing, Rhythm. Being a product manager, I think it's only natural to become an entrepreneur next. So you're on my watch list.
All I can say is I'm on that path.
He's definitely got it in him. Winton, you're up next.
Hi, Eva. Thank you so much for being here today. I heard a lot from people last year. They said, "Oh yeah, that the talk by Eva, it was amazing. She did such an amazing job." And it's been hyped up for a year now for me, and so it's so wonderful to finally get the chance to hear everything you had to say. And I feel like I definitely got a second MBA right here right now. So thank you so much for spending the time with us today.
Well, thanks so much, Winton, to be here for the whole evening and don't find this boring.
Oh, it's been amazing. We love it. Dimash, you're up next.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. Well, Eva, thank you so much again for your great, inspirational speech. Every time I hear the asset model, I find something new in them, like different perspective, different angles, and it helps a lot. And what I felt today is a sort of a recharging the batteries, entrepreneurial batteries, and all this spirit of creating something and looking on this creation from different angles is definitely here. Thank you so much for today's talk.
Well, thanks for coming here twice, Dimash. That I'm so glad I didn't bore you this time.
Oh, I can do it like many times more. Thank you.
Very welcome.
Roger, you wanted to hop back on with a thank you?
Yeah, Eva, thanks again for coming out. It was great listening to your chat. Definitely got me thinking of the business in several different ways, and I think that's going to be very beneficial for the team and I. Chris, thank you and the Schulich startup community for hosting another great event. I think this is the 3rd event they come to, and they only get better. So thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, Roger. And that's a great way to wrap it up. So I hope you enjoyed that little group virtual hug that we like to give people at the end, Eva.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I also want to thank, Chris, you organized this, having me here, for the 3rd time. I'm amazed, with the entrepreneur spirit in Schulich. Certainly, when I was at Schulich, it was a very diverse community, and it helped me to unlearn a lot of the thinkings when I was in a tech mode and, kind of get into the whole business mode. And I think right now, throughout the years, Schulich has certainly have the magic of blending all those together. And I'm seeing a very diverse community, people who are product managers, people who want to be an entrepreneurs, people who are a daddy with the cute girls, hanging next to him. And, and I just feel that, we have a very diverse community, and being here for you guys all, it's really my privilege. So I want to thank you for organizing this, and hopefully I can be helpful to the community.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let's grab a group picture. So we have a bunch of people that are off video. If you'd like to come on for the picture, then we'll have Dimash snap the picture, and then we have a few final concluding messages. So we'll see if we can get the full tile completed. We're just one person away.
Vito, can you make the
the screen?
In
okay, let's see if I can.
Back on the backstage, right? So we can have all this.
Like that?
1 second.
I think so. Awesome.
Yeah.
Let me know if you got it. Or should we do a countdown?
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, 3. Okay, we'll do from 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Great. I love it. Awesome. Okay, so just a couple more things as we wrap up. Just give me a quick second here. Okay, so everyone, oh, the slide's not all there. There it is. Okay, so just a couple of things for the community. We do have an idea jam returning at the start of December with Bija May, and our sponsors Zeifmans are preparing something incredibly special for this idea jam. So we have Ahmed there in the blue, who will also be present in our post event, which we'll talk about in just a moment with Dimash. We're trying a new platform called Run the World. But I just wanted to point out that we also have another VIP on December 10th, which is a really interesting VIP with Jeff Sear. So if you don't know Jeff Sear, I believe he leads Raven Capital, Chris, and has worked on some really cool projects, and is also was recommended by a Schulich startup community member. So.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and the people that are being introduced to us now, and Jeff runs the largest Indigenous community venture capital fund in the country. Guest lectures at Oxford, and is like super genius. So we're really lucky to have him. And it was one of our community members and one of our past team members in Lee who had suggested that we get in touch with Jeff, and we're excited to have him in on the 10th.
I think with that we can conclude today's session, and just thank you everybody for joining, and especially Eva for taking the time tonight for everyone.
Well, thanks for having me. So good night, everyone. Bye.
Good night.